Hi, this is Mark at M2M Technology, and I'm here today with another one of our buy request videos. Today we're going to be talking about Report Designer, taking a little deeper dive than we've done before and covering some basic tips and tricks that will help you design your own reports. The report we're going to do today is a list of your customers, but counting them. It's based on a real actual support call, and the result we're looking for is to find out how many customers we have beginning with the letter A, the letter B, the letter C, and so on. Funnily enough, there isn't a standard Sage report to do this, so you've got to make one. But it's pretty straightforward, and I thought I'd use it as an exercise to show you some tips and tricks that might come in useful for you. If you enjoyed this, have a go yourself. You can follow the steps virtually identically by amending the supplier list instead. As I say though, we're going to be amending the customer list, so let's go.
Okay, so let's get started. We're going to go to the Tools menu up in the top right and click Run Sage Report Designer. After a moment or two that will open, and once it does, we're going to look on the left hand side at this folder structure. By default, the program comes with a whole bunch of layouts. Again, these are things that you would send to your customers or suppliers, as well as reports. These are things that you would typically print for your own entertainment. In here we've got a nice folder called Sales, and if we look in that folder, there's a whole bunch of reports showing. Now, all these here are the descriptions of the reports, and there's one called Sales Ledger List of Accounts. If we look down at the bottom of the list, its file name is also Sales Ledger List of Accounts.report. But that won't always be true, so do make sure you're opening the report that you want. Anyway, double clicking on that report will open us into Report Designer. And once there, we'll talk about these panes around the side, the list of variables, the Report Explorer pane and the Properties pane, and remind you that these can be added or removed by going to View up in the top left and clicking on the appropriate option. Also within here, you can click Preview to preview a report. This will bring up the criteria screen, and you can then click OK to see what the report looks like at the moment. There's also a switch down at the bottom right here that allows us to switch between Designer and Preview, and it's personal preference which one you choose. It doesn't matter whether you go to View and Preview or Designer in the top left, or click on this icon here. I prefer this one, but I say completely immaterial. First thing we'll do is we'll notice that this report has got a bunch of sections: page header, report header, details, report footer 2 and page footer 2. If we then look at the Report Explorer pane, we can see that mirrored or detailed. We've got a page header, we've got a report header, we've got a report header 2 which we can't see, and we've also got a customer account number header. We've then got the details section, which is the bit that repeats over and over and over again. Then a customer account number footer, the no transaction section, which you can by and large ignore in Sage 200, footer 1 and report footer 2 and page footer. So details section in the middle, the meat of the report, some headers at the top, some headers at the bottom, and this strange grouping. By highlighting this, we can go down to its properties and we can see that it is not visible on the report. So let's change that for the footer section and then do the same for the header section. Now we can see those sections on the report, and if we take this account number variable and copy it and then paste it, Ctrl C, Ctrl V, we can then push the new one up into that section. Having done so, if we preview the report, we get the customer name and then the customer details repeated over and over again, as you'd expect. Back to the design screen, I mentioned what we were aiming for is to show which customers, or how many customers, begin with a particular letter. So the first thing we need to do is identify what letter an account starts with. Happily, pretty straightforward. I'm going to double click on this variable to bring up the expression editor, go to the beginning and type substring. I'm then going to open some brackets to declare that this is the thing I would like to receive the substring from. I'm then going to say I want it to start at the position 0, i.e. the beginning, and I only want it to be 1 character long. And then close the brackets. If I then click OK, it says substring. If I preview the report now, you can see I have 1 there, and then €1 A, and ABB, B, better 001, B, BIR 001. So that looks like it'll be useful. So now back to the design screen. What we now need to do is to group this report by this substring. And of course there are 2 ways to do that, if not more. If this account number grouping wasn't already here, I would go up to Sections, add a section, choose Group Header and Footer, and I would type that substring in there. In fact, I'd probably be lazy and just copy and paste it. So there, copy that, Sections, add section, Group Header and Footer, paste, click OK. However, I don't have to do that because this grouping is already on the report. So instead I'm going to delete that new section that I just added. It will delete the footer automatically. And instead I'm going to go to the properties of this section. I'm going to do that by clicking on the section heading. If I then look at the properties, I can see what the group expression is. You won't be surprised to learn it's the CustomerAccount.CustomerAccountNumber. But I can paste our substring expression into there and click OK. It'll think for a moment. But once it has, if we then preview this report again, we now have €1 A, ABB, B, BIR, 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 and so on. So that looks quite useful. We now have each of our letters before a list of all the customers that begin with that letter. Let's now go back to the design screen. The final thing we want to do, or at least the next thing we want to do, is then count how many of these there are. So let's copy that variable, paste a new copy down there, and stick that one in the footer. Headings are typically a way of introducing something. Footers are where you would typically total things. You can get advanced and do it the other way around for a whole bunch of reasons, but we're keeping it simple here. Let's actually make this one red, just to help clarify it. We now get the number 1, the customer that begins with the number 1, and then the footer. We then get A's, the one customer that begins with A, and then A in the footer. We then get B, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, a bunch of B's, and then a red B down in the footer. All I'm showing here is that the footer only appears after the group, or however many items are in the group. If we now click on this red expression again and look at its properties over on the right hand side here, we can see that there is a function property. Let's go and change this to count and then preview. There's 1 beginning with 1. There's 1 beginning with A. There's some B's. It says here there are 11. And then some C's. So that all looks nice. That's telling us what we want to know. If this is something that you ever get asked to do, I would recommend you do think about the future as well, and you might want to consider putting one in the footer as well, the report footer, so you get a total number of accounts, but that's not what we've been asked for, so that's not what we're going to do. Instead, we're going to take a copy of this letter up at the top, copy paste, move it down, stick it down there, and now if we preview this report, 1 of 1. A, 1, and then B, we've got 11. What we'll now do is we'll change the description. And if we do that, you can see how that's affected what appears on the report. That's completely non-essential for this particular task, but just demonstrating how to do it. What we'll also do is, again, making sure that nothing on the report is selected. We're looking at these properties of the report as a whole. We go to the Excel export options, and let's just tell it we only want that customer account number footer to be exported to Excel. If we now preview that report, it looks as it did before. Let's now file and export. Let's choose the desktop and choose an Excel file and save. And here's our file. Let's open it. And as you can see, that now gives us a count of how many customer accounts we have with any given letter. So if this was a one-off and that was all we cared about, we could just cancel out of this and choose not to save our changes. Job's done. However, more typically you may want to run this in future, and so what we'll do is we'll go and amend the description again. And then what we'll do is we'll save this so that the program runs our new report from the main menu item. We don't want to be adding a new menu item just for this updated report. We're going to save this and have the program use our custom one automatically. Whilst we're here, we're also going to change the printing property so that the save printer setting is set to false. I would recommend that, unless you've got a good reason otherwise, you always do that on any report that you amend, as it will save time when running reports later, so while it's not looking for a specific printer. Anyway, to save this report, we now need to go to File and choose Save As. You'll notice that saves grayed out. This was a default report. We can't overwrite the original. So Save As, and by default it's going to give us the file name copy of whatever the original file name was, and it's going to offer us custom reports as the place to put it. If we go into the sales folder and then make this file name the same as the original, we can hit save, and then whenever we run this list of accounts report, it will produce this custom version. However, we're going to be a little cleverer than that, or a little sneakier. Instead, we're going to go back to the reporting folder, into the company folder, and we're going to create a folder with the same name as the company we want this report to work in. So the company is Dodgers Digital Dynamics, and so let's create a new folder in Sage Reporting Company. So, new folder, Dodgers Digital Dynamics. Spelling is important here. If your folder doesn't have the same name as the company, then the report won't work, so do double check your spelling. Anyway, having done that, if you create a new folder called Reports, and in there create a new folder called Sales, and save this report in there, we can now go to File and Exit, close out of Excel, go back to Sage 200, and if we go to Sales Ledger, Reports, Account Analysis, List of Accounts, click OK. This is our custom report, designed to tell us how many customers we have with the letter B, and so on. If we now change company, and then go to the sales ledger, reports, account analysis, list of accounts, this is still a standard report. So, to recap, make the changes that you want to in Report Designer. Having done that, don't overwrite the original file. Instead, put your modified version in the custom folder, in reports, in sales, or whatever, and give it the same file name as the original. If you want it to only work in a specific company, then you will need to save it into the company folder in a subfolder named after that company, and then follow the same folder structure as you saw before.
Cool. I hope you found that useful, and if you're having any problems with your own, by all means get in touch. You can give us a bell on 01245 494847, or you can email us, servicedesk@m2mit.uk, or you can visit either of our websites, support@m2m.host or m2mit.uk. Thanks very much for your time, and as always, please like, subscribe, comment down below if there's anything you'd like to see or any problems you're having. Thanks for your time. Cheers.